Morning. Welcome to Tuesday Coffee Chat, actually on Wednesday this week. I was sick yesterday, and we'll talk about that here in just a second as soon as I have, yay, confirmation that we are live. So, good morning again. It's kind of a cool and a rainy day where I am. So, as I mentioned, this is Tuesday's Coffee Chat, a day late. Today, the main focus of our topic will be yoga for autoimmune disease. I'm just using a little oil here. The main topic will be yoga for autoimmune disease, but I had such a reaction from the story that I posted yesterday, and it was just my feet because I was sick. Monday night, I spiked a high fever, and it lasted Monday all night, which was a miserable night, yes. And then through yesterday, around mid morning, I would say, fever broke. And then I was pretty much fine. I was tired because I didn't sleep the night before, but got a good night's sleep last night and am feeling great today. So I'm playing catch up on all my videos that I should have done yesterday. So a lot of people asked, I have a fever protocol and I used to give that out. Usually I wait till like October, November to start sending that out, but I do have a fever protocol that shortens the duration of illnesses, no matter what they are, particularly viral illnesses. But essentially, the sort of highlights are grounding, lots of hydration, saying no to fever reducers. So it really isn't fun for 18 to 24 hours, but then it's gone, right? Like you rest, hydrate, and feel better after that. So if that's something that interests you, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to send you a link to that little fever cheat sheet that works for both adults and kiddos. Okay. So as I said, one more thing. Later this afternoon or at noon central, I'll be talking in my wellness circle, which is my private Facebook group. We'll be talking about intermittent fasting and how that benefits both weight loss as well as autoimmune disease, right? Because it's heavily marketed for weight loss, but what a lot of people who struggle with autoimmune disease don't realize is that doing well, there's several categories there, but doing intermittent fasting in a very particular way can be super beneficial to resting the gut. So I'll be talking about intermittent fasting on the Wellness Wednesday live in the Facebook group Wellness Circle. So if you don't see that group connected to this page, then send me a comment here on this video, send me a private message, and I'll send you the link to get in so that you can hang out with us for that class today. So today's topic is yoga for autoimmune disease. And, you could look at this a couple of ways. Like, there are so many different styles of yoga. You could be like, oh, dang, now they have a yoga for autoimmune disease. Like, they have yoga for everything. But don't tune out yet, because yoga can actually be a really beneficial treatment for autoimmune disease, for any chronic illness, for chronic pain, for fatigue, for any of those things. And depending on where you've heard of yoga or where you've seen yoga, what your yoga experience has been, you might be under the impression that it is some kind of super elusive thing, right? That it's impossible for someone that has any kind of limitation to use yoga as a healing tool, as a healing modality. But interestingly, what you use it for autoimmune disease, and really what it's for everything, is a mind-body connection, right? And so as long as you get that mind-body connection through something, through one of the methods that I've been talking about the last several weeks, it translates to lasting healing. And sometimes that healing path almost seems superhuman. It happens so fast. So again, we've been on this theme of like mind-body connection, and that's what we're talking about today with yoga, is how to really use it instead of using it as an aerobic or anaerobic workout, or as a way to get flexible, or as a way to mimic Instagram yoga, right? Then we're using it as a way to heal the body. If I'm just popping in your newsfeed, I'm Audrey Christie. I'm a functional and integrative nurse nutritionist and energy medicine practitioner. I help women start their very own autoimmune revolution so that you can stop chasing symptoms and actually heal your body from autoimmune disease. So as I mentioned, mind-body connection. If you haven't seen that, go check out the last video. You can also find that on episode 127 and 128 on your favorite podcast provider. And that'll link you to the blog for if you prefer to read. Now, here's the thing. If you're not connected to your human suit, if your mind-body connection is missing, if it's broken, if you're unplugged, then it makes it more difficult, almost impossible to heal your body from autoimmune disease. And yes, I'm specifically talking about autoimmune disease, but this works for anything. This works for weight loss. This works for healing your body from chronic illness of any kind, right? And it also works no matter if you take a conventional medicine approach, it helps those things work better in masking your symptoms, or if you take a healing approach, it helps your body heal better. And having that mind-body connection also helps you discern what is right for your human suit, regardless of what I say, of what, the white coat at the doctor's office says, of what you read on the internet. It helps you discern that information as to what resonates truly with you and what does not. Now, as a yoga teacher, even though I haven't taught a class since COVID, I do still teach some workshops online. But I say this with utmost love and respect for yoga teachers everywhere, and I've probably been guilty of this too. But it tends to be the mind-body connection. Using yoga to achieve that mind-body connection tends to be broadcast, marketed as something elusive, right? Or as yoga, even as this elusive practice reserved for the crazy flexible and the crazy fit. Like it's something that you hope to reach, like a nirvana, right? We hope to reach with our yoga practice. But in reality, this mind-body connection is present at some level all the time, right? You just really have to hone in on it. Because it might not be perceivable, or maybe it's perceivable, but you don't realize you're perceiving it, right? So that's the practice of honoring that mind-body connection. If you're having inklings of it, you can honor that mind-body connection. So here's some examples. If you think of something like when you get really nervous, you might get butterflies in your stomach. That's a mind-body connection, okay? If you have mouth watering at the thought of the most magnificent meal, whatever that is for you. For me this morning, it's coffee. But if you get mouth watering when you are thinking of, your favorite meal of all time, that's a mind-body connection. If you've ever had sweaty palms or a shaky voice when you're nervous about something, that's all mind-body connection, right? So it's not necessarily this elusive thing, but like anything else, it takes practice, right? That mind-body connection is a routine occurrence, but you need to practice honoring it to use it as a healing tool. So why use yoga to help with chronic illness, to help with autoimmune disease? And the best way I can describe it in the simplest terms is that yoga wakes up that mind-body connection in a deeper way. It honors that mind-body connection in a different way. So it takes you from having the automatic mind-body connection, that subconscious mind-body connection, sweaty palms, butterflies in the tummy, shaky voice, to having a connection that is intentional. Now, I shared a long story about my journey with mind-body connection and yoga and all of those things, and I won't rehash it here. But my story is just one of many powerful stories that of people changing their lives by simply adding that mind-body connection in whatever amount that they do. I do have that full story listed out on the blog. It's also on the podcast, Autoimmune Revolution, episode 129, and then audreychristie.com/129. But the gist of it is that from the space of connection, from practicing and listening and honoring the messages that my body was receiving, I was able to recognize what my body needed and what it didn't need. And I've seen that happen time and time again. So I was able to understand and experience what my body needed physically, mentally, what my body needed for people around me and who I needed to let go of. I was able to determine what, with all the noise of all the things, all the ways there are to help you, do X, Y, and Z on the internet, I was able to focus in and figure out what was right for me, right? As well as deepen that focus and help other people figure out what was right. So all of that through starting a yoga practice. Again, definitely check out that story super long. I'm not going to go into it here. But one of the questions that I get is, well, why yoga? Why yoga and not running? Why yoga and not, you know, cycling or swimming or any of those things? And there is a reason. It works because of the intention and the tuning in aspects of yoga. Now, there are some people that can get that from a run or from a long cycle. But the problem is, if I were to come out on this platform and say, you need to run 3 miles every day, that the majority of my audience, the majority of you, couldn't do that. And today I couldn't go run 3 miles, to be honest. I've rarely run in the last year. There was a period where I was running a lot, but right now I'm not. So yoga is accessible to all people, right? To everyone. It's something that anyone can do. Plus, it helps that I had personal experience with it, right? But it's because of the intention and the tuning in aspects. When you practice slow and intentional yoga, and not all yoga does this, I'm not suggesting you go do the beauty yoga or go do some kind of hot yoga in a studio or any of those things. But something like a hatha yoga or a really accessible yoga where you're focusing on your body, you're focusing on taking up space, you're focusing on breathing deeply. You're noticing the slightest twist of your leg, right? It's just slightly out of alignment. Or your part of your back isn't quite as flat as it should be. And so you adjust just a little bit to feel that flatness or feel that lengthening of the spine. Also, in the same way, inhaling deeply, focusing on the breath, filling your body up with all of that oxygen, it helps to revitalize not just your human suit, but also your mind. Your body remains connected deeply to your mind and your mind to your body. So what happens over time and repetition and over practicing yoga is that you start to have profound effects on your health. Siri is talking in my ear. I don't want Siri to talk. So yoga has the proven ability actually, to alter long-standing dysfunctional behavior. And I'm not making a sweeping judgment or a conclusion about any certain behavior or collection of behaviors being dysfunctional, because every behavior serves some sort of purpose, no matter how outwardly dysfunctional it is, right? But humans by nature often have these unhealthy habits, these unhealthy actions that undermine our healing path, that undermine our ability to heal from autoimmune disease. And yoga helps to fix that. And it could be as simple as eating when you're not hungry, or not moving your body, or allowing stress to take over your mind, or choosing to partake in activities that are detrimental to our healing paths. And sometimes these habits are super recognizable, and I'll throw this one out there, like smoking, right? And sometimes they're not so recognizable because they're unique to you and your path. So what might be healthy for someone, getting up at 5 a.m. and strength training every day, might be healthy for some people, but it might not be healthy for all people. Another example of that is all of the different nutrition aspects that you can take to heal autoimmune disease. It might be healthy for you to eat avocados 3 times a day, but I've had clients that avocados were a food trigger for them, a food trigger for their flares. And that's just a small example. So these changes that happen when you start to incorporate a daily yoga practice, and friends, a daily yoga practice doesn't have to be rolling out the mat and sweating your rear end off doing asanas every day. A daily yoga practice might be doing 1 sun salutation, might be doing 1 downward dog, might be sitting and breathing, right? But these changes happen while you're working on the physical body, on the physical plane. They also are mirrored in the nervous system. So people who practice yoga become more sensitive, more in touch, more connected in the mind body, and more connected to the different actions and reactions in our own body, which is critical if you're trying to heal from anything, if you're trying to lose weight, no matter what it is that you're trying to do. So increasingly, as you practice, you naturally want to do the things that make you feel better. You naturally kind of hone in and honor that little voice inside. And this happens through a phenomenon well documented in science called neuroplasticity. And the modern understanding of the brain is now that the brain is ever changing. Back when I was really started to dig into science in high school, the brain was considered a more static structure. I even learned that in my first couple of years of RN school. The brain is a static structure. But what we know now that when you add something like yoga, even if you're not changing anything else, right? Even if yoga is the only thing you add, it changes the neural pathways in your brain. And then other things begin to fall into place. Changing those neural pathways is that neuroplasticity. Now, sometimes it takes a little effort, and sometimes it takes a little guidance, or it takes the support of a little community that are on your same journey, but it is definitely a tool worth trying to get that mind-body connection and to start heading down the healing path. The more you practice, the more you enhance your mind-body connection, and the stronger those new neural pathways become. And so the stronger those neural pathways become, the more you cement your journey to conquering whatever it is you're trying to conquer, be it autoimmune disease, be it a chronic illness, be it a collection of symptoms, be it just one symptom like fatigue, be it weight loss, right? You're on your way to conquering that. It's almost like, and I love it when this happens, these ancient yogis knew thousands and thousands of years ago when they suggested the key to success is a dedicated and uninterrupted yoga practice over a long period of time. And I love it when you can take the science of now and look back to the mystics in the ancient times and see like, oh, wait, they knew what they were talking about. Maybe it makes people tune in a little bit more to the mystics of our time. So, just like meditation, yoga is another way to get off that constant roller coaster, right? That merry-go-round, that constant cycle of influencing your body and mind, and it kind of being on the better or worse, right? It's important for your healing path, no matter what you're trying to heal. And it's often sort of switching that, choosing yoga, fixing that mind-body connection is the first step in kickstarting your very own autoimmune revolution. I have a downloaded resource for you, Kickstart Your Autoimmune Revolution. The first step is about reconnecting, getting clear in your mind. So I encourage you to download it. You can find that on the show notes page at audreychristie.com/129, or I can put the link here in the comments as well. And you'll also find a link to one of my good friends, Andy, her page, yogawithandyfitz.com. You can see that link on the page as well, and I'll add it here to the comments. This is your home for accessible yoga, and Andy achieved something amazing this year. She was one of the top 3 yoga instructors in the Denton community, in our community here, which you might think, okay, well, you said she's great, so that's why. And that is why. But the reason why it's so important is because Andy teaches accessible yoga. And so it's yoga for everybody, literally. What makes it so amazing that she was chosen is that this is the first time that anyone has gotten to the top 3 that has been teaching accessible yoga. And so that is a huge win for people like Andy who are teaching yoga that anybody can do. It's a huge win for people that need and want accessible yoga. And it's a huge win for people like me who are encouraging the masses to try yoga. And all they've seen to date is people standing on their heads or holding their foot behind their head and all of these outrageous things that are definitely yoga, but it's not the sum of yoga, right? It's not, it makes people feel like yoga isn't for them, or that, yoga is weird, or it's nothing they could ever do or achieve or want to try. And there's a whole spectrum of yoga that is beneficial way before that. Again, starting with just sitting and breathing. Even if you can't get on the floor, there is yoga for you. And Andy has that yoga on the Yoga with Andy Fitz page. So definitely check that out. There are some free classes so that you can kind of get a sense of Andy's teaching style first. So to wrap this up, you can change your mind, heal your body easier, faster, and more permanently than changing your body and hoping that your mind catches up. Here's the thing. Your mind wins the battle most of the time at some point. It might be in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. I've seen that happen time and time again. I've even seen it happen with things like weight loss surgery, where they physically change the stomach. Usually the lifespan on those is about 5 years before the mind wins, right? You go back to your old habits. So the good news is, just like anything else, you can practice yoga or meditation or other body connection activities. You can heal your mind, your body, and your spirit. Thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. I would love it if you would leave me a comment. I will come back and put the fever link on there if you request it. So that's what I talked about at the beginning. Don't forget, at noon Central, I'll be teaching a class on intermittent fasting in the Wellness Circle. Let me know if you need a link to that. And I'll add a link to the show notes and Andy and all the different things that I talked about today. So thank you so much for tuning in. I challenge you to leave your world just a little bit brighter than the way you found it when you woke up this morning. Be well.